Excuse me. Hi all. So we're back with another actual Macross, Robotech game. This time in the form of the Robotech, the Robotech Macross HD edition, or Macross Saga HD edition. So, before we start, I've got a few things to explain about the game. Also want to make sure everything's good on this end. Yep, should be. So, we have a lot of different characters, and always start with a deleting the file. New game essentially means no actual upgrades, since each character has their own upgrades on that one and their own stats. Each of them actually do have their own categories. I guess I'll start with showcasing like just some of the little tips and tricks before starting out. Also, chat, I'll let you all decide the character, Rick or Roy, tonight. Rick is, of course, legendary Rick Oker. He's got a bit more health and a bit more speed, but less missiles. And then Rick is more of your above average balance. Now, within this game, you have like all the 3 different modes. This is just to show you an example of that one. This is the essentially, you have 3 different modes. If you are in Battleoid mode, you actually just don't move. Well, you move, but you don't screen scroll. The nice thing about Guardian is you actually don't take damage from the ground, and fighter mode, you take damage on that one. Now, you can do Rick, Roy, and if they'll give me an extra minute or two, I might be able to push it to max. But you can see his strength, power, and his stamina. Not as bad as his wife, but Max is almost like the glass cannon on that one. So, take your pick all. Rick, Roy, or Max. I'll give you guys a quick minute or two, so make your pick. As I said, all of them have their own benefits on that one. They all have their own little bits of skill routing. I guess, if there are other requests, I guess we can show off the legendary Roy Fokker. Although he is a bit of the safe pick because he gets a little more stamina than Rick. Although his strength is, just as good. He gets a bit more piloting. To give an example of what each stat means, power is essentially how many missiles you get. Stamina is your health. Strength is how much damage you do. Piloting is just your speed in your speed in fighter and Guardian mode, and that's piloting. And speed is just how fast you walk in Battleoid. So you will never see us take a single point in speed because we don't want to be in that mode. I guess I'll get y'all started in a you know what? I want to show off, but yeah, I don't want to get too far behind. But you know what? Screw it. I've practiced this Max well enough that I can do it. It's just mid-game's going to be a pain. But let's get started. Hold on. What's my estimate again? 45? Yeah, I should be able to do it. Anyway, 36. Yeah. Just gotta pre-prepare for that one and just take the easy thing for the final mission. So let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Time for this game starts in selecting your character on that one there. So we have our 3 different modes, of Robotech or Valkyrie for those Macross fans out there. We will be sticking to the Gearbox / the Guardian mode because, as I said beforehand, we don't take damage on the ground. Now, this game has some very good RPG elements as far as our score being linked to the actual amount of experience we get. So we're going to move this way. Sorry, y'all. Hard to check the chat when, it's out of the corner of my eye. but I'll do what I can. Anyway, right now we're just going to fly around, get some extra EXP as fast as possible, take out all the enemies here. We do get a bonus for actually taking out entire squads. Story and lore-wise, it's the day that the Superdimensional Fortress, otherwise known as Macross, and oh, they took a death. Let's call that on purpose to showcase that you can actually kill enemies while actually, you know, having your iframes on that one, which does add to our score, well, our EXP total. Now we're going to take out those enemies, move here. Anyway, as I was saying, lore-wise, it's the day, it's been 10 years since the end of a global war that ended in a single night with the crash landing of an alien ship on the planet Earth. It was renamed the Superdimensional Fortress, and a city grew up around it, Macross City. That's where the name comes from. Also, Macross Saga, referring to the first part of the Robotech franchise, also known as the part that was based off of the Macross franchise. Anyway, we're going to fly down here. Booby Trap is basically, I believe it's the name of the second episode in the series, where essentially, no, it was the first episode, where the, essentially the Zentradi, you know, once they load up, launched the ship, the aliens known as the Zentradi, you know, warped in, like, hey, that's ours, when it technically isn't, but, in all fairness, that's one of the reasons why you have the Battleoid mode, is because the Zentradi, when they were reverse engineering stuff, were like 40 feet, it's either 40 or 50 feet tall, so, yeah, humanity needed a way to be able to fight them if they had to, hence why the Battleoid mode exists. Sorry, couldn't think on that one. Anyway, we're gonna fly over here, get rid of all these enemies here, position here, get the extra EXP here, move there, just out of the way, avoid the damage, fire missile there, fire down there, move away from the enemies, move down here. Now you want to basically quickly kill those enemies there, loop up and around. Now originally this game came out on the Game Boy Advance. It actually got a very low score because on ratings wise, I believe the description was it was hard and didn't have many checkpoints. Meant to actually quickly swap to Battleoid to actually get the extra XP on that one, but hell, normally I would just use the fact of being able to tank damage, but with Max you sort of can't do that there. And now that we took a death, we're gonna go get some quick EXP, because the game lets us actually take damage, kill enemies, and still get that counted as EXP. And we're going to use our laser that we just picked up to help with taking out some of the enemies. We're going to fly up here, quickly get the squad bonus for that one there. Going to position just down here, fly into the ground to some degree, basically adjusting where our hitbox is by having it partially into the ground that's slightly less of a hitbox to where we can actually take damage. Now Max here is a brilliant young pilot, and also very important to the both Robotech and Macross franchises, considering his wife, as he falls in love with a Zentradi, who, you know, shrinks down to the size of a human as well. Do not ask me how to pronounce her name, I have no clue right now. So we're going to fly down here. Positive and fun fact, in the Game Boy Advance version of this game, you do not have access to the healing or the ammo reload during the battle, as the screen crunch is that bad that you can't do that one. So we're going to try to keep the health refill to when we need it, just as soon as we need it. I got clipped on the enemy there. But I'm gonna fly up here, fly down here. Now this game here, one of the positive notes was this actually helped me get good at side-scrolling shmups. So we now need to take out this ship here. It's our first boss. Gonna position just so we can actually take out things. Yay. Now, clipped on that one. Yes, you still have a hitbox even after killing bosses. And you can see one of the reasons why we would try to fly into the corner as much as possible. We want to take both strength and the health upgrade. Strength because we need extra damage, and health because, well, we don't want to die. So we're now on to the second mission, Blitzkrieg. Lore-wise, Superdimensional Fortress Macross had to essentially had to launch a warp bubble, you know, take a hyperspace, basically use a hyperspace fold to get out of Dodge, although it also took a chunk of the city with it. So they're far from home, trying to get back home, and essentially the Eccentrati, who were only caring about the ship, decided to go hunt them down. So we're going to position just here and avoid these turrets here because we want to be able to go fast. Pick up the reload. Although I will point out they took out some of the actual benefits and some of the actual buffs and where you would get them in the HD version. Although that does not mean that we don't get some advantages. Quickly get rid of all them. Do down there. Gonna position just so here. Move over here. Get down here. Back. I'm not playing well right now. I know I should have just picked Roy. But arrogance on that one. I'll just take it nice and easy. Luckily, a game over just means you start the level over again. Which, considering time, that's why it's built into the estimate. Again, it's been a while since I've played this one. Again, we're going to use this. Take out all the enemies here. Fire our missiles here. Getting a death at the very end of the first stage cost me a life, which I am not happy about. Also, firing missiles at the same point as the guns does deal a bit more damage. Gonna swap to there, move there. Avoid getting clipped by the enemy there. Down there. Let's just call that the warm-up, shall we? Gonna move up here, fly down there, pick up the missiles. Slide down here. Slide down there. Aim for that there, slide up here. Hit the enemy there, so that way the missile will redirect itself. One of the nice things about both Robotech and Macross is that it had a lot of good animations as far as the missile trailers go. In fact, it's one of the shows that helped popularize that whole trope. Quickly snag that enemy there. There we go. There we go. Let's just consider this having to practice up a little bit. Gotta have that dust, you know, actual rust. Slide down here. Now, if I were to go all out, but this, you know, and not, you know, play very risky, I would actually not do what I'm about to do, which is do this. that is the safe strat for that one, which is actually slow the game. Just actually stop the scroll to be able to actually get rid of those enemies that are behind you, versus trying to actually, you know, avoid them. Now, I will point out that within this, so you do want to be able to actually take out some of the enemies, and the officers' pods, that the ones that have the lasers, are actually worth 5,000. I think it's either 500 or 5,000. I forget which. You can look up my EXP count there to see on that one. Fun fact, since it's also tied to score, it does affect when you get lives. Although they changed that in the HD edition, in the GBA version, it is very abusable. So you can actually use a lot of your score, and then it resets when you would get another life. So you can actually set up so that you will get more lives. Now the run here is done on normal, because what advanced does is essentially it nerfs your damage. You still have the same amount of enemies, it just nerfs your damage. And the reason I know it's nerfing the damage and not enemy health is because of being able to switch to do that on a completed save file for a character, and the fact that it still does not. The fact that basically you don't just snowball through enemies sort of implies that it's health, that it's damage, not health. Basically, now and there, we want to circle strafe a bit. Line up just here. Line up here, avoid the enemies fire. It basically makes sure to concentrate all. This is one of those games where, like, surprisingly, unlike a game like Shooting Insight, which is a lot harder, I actually have to concentrate on this game because of actual movement. But again, we want to move here, slide down here, over here, line just so we can avoid taking damage. As this is all, as the run actually does plan out some intentional deaths to be able to do things like that. Now then, we gotta move up here. As you saw in the first mission, how it actually does take some of the it takes a little bit of time to actually slide off screen. Anyway, we are now back up to Mars, and we have to get some destroids. Ironically, they also took out that there is a bit of an actual difference on movement speed, but we want to use this one here. Although you'd think it does not have the best offense and defense, its special is the reason why we pick it. Because, well, you'll see. I don't want to spoil it, but we have to take out some landing pods. And, well, I won't spoil the surprise. Let's just say there is a surprise to it. Gonna get rid of this officer's pod, the healing from it, get rid of this enemy here. You may wonder, why aids are you actually doing that? Because we take damage. A lot of damage. Like, and what you saw there was the ability to actually use the fact that the game lets you clip into hitboxes with the destroids. I'm going to basically guarantee that I don't die to that. We may take less armor, but it gives us the ability to clip in and use our special, which is an 8-way shot, which essentially lets us two-shot the landing pods. And considering that we don't get many iframes with this mission, it's smarter to actually just take out some of the enemies. Oh, they did nerf how much damage, how much you would get score-wise. As you can see, just like how quickly you could just get a life eaten through. The green dots essentially say where they are. And as I said, the ability to actually just one-shot, two-shot the pods rather than having to stand there for a while and just spam your guns just dramatically makes the use of this destroy during the missions where we have to use it just the best option. And I will be smart and pick up the extra health just to be on the safe side. So we're going to fly, not so much fly, but walk over here. Get rid of this enemy here. Aim over here. And now immediately try to run out from everything because even when the screen's fading, you still have a hitbox. That hitbox is still active. And we'll take an extra level of strength now. Mash through the text. And now we're inside a Zentradi ship. And now with 2 strength and our health, we're going to be able to get through this mission quite fast. Because we can avoid taking a lot of damage. And since this game is a shmup, the knowledge for it is, I mean, it is a game that's pretty good at teaching you the basics of it, of the style of gameplay. Despite it being considered hard, the GBA version is actually easier. It really does make you think what the reviewer's skill level was at the time, as I believe it was considered the second worst game rated by IGN that year. I do not ask me what the worst rated one was, because I do not know off the top of my head. But anyway, we fly up there close so we can pick this up, because the triple shot is good, although it is time-based to some degree. If you're holding it in, it basically aims down the timer. But if you put it in spurts, it still sometimes causes the timer to go down a little bit, but you can maintain it a bit longer. But it is a give and take because it's one of those timers that's like it counts start of input and then release of input. So we're going to fly up here, fly over here, do that there, slide over here. Gonna go like this. Fly down here. Ease up here so we can get rid of these extra tasty, get rid of all these enemies and get the tasty yum yum EXP. So gonna fly there. Again, the reason why you don't see us see me take any points in speed piloting is because all that does is affect the actual character movement, not the screen scroll. If it affected screen scroll, then yes, you would be taking it, but no. And speed only affects the the movement of the Battloid. Yeah, I can take the power. And now we've reached the halfway point, bursting point, where essentially, well, wish me luck. I hope the hell I don't die or game over, because this mission is a pain in the ass. But we've made it back to Earth. The strategy is legitimately, don't die. Because, essentially, these cannons need to be gotten rid of in order to be able to damage the ship, the enemy ship behind it, and they were a pain in the arse. So essentially, it is just more about, yes, you have to damage tank. Although I do have to give the developers of the HD edition credit for actually switching the order of when the health, between when the power-ups come in this mission. As in the original version, it was actually reloading your missiles first, then health. Although sadly we don't get anything for the killing the enemies that surround it. But we're We're gonna lie low. Quickly dodge that one there. Hopefully not eat a hit. Too much damage. This is the one spot where you will almost never see, where it is very hard to get a 1cc because of this mission here. Because the enemy is so erratic. Good. Oh, for the love of. And then I proceeded to fly into an explosion, took damage, had an extra life to give, and now just immediately died. Yeah, we're just going to keep that upgrade and just not die. The save takes a little bit of time, but at the same point, it just means that it really doesn't matter if you're playing in the HD version, because it only counts a, it only will reset your progress if you actually exit out of the game. But since we're not exiting out of the game, it doesn't matter as much. Gonna keep firing here. Now we have to get some more landers. And in this case, our commanding officer Roy Oker has died bravely, helping people, helping save people, getting us back to Earth. We're going to pick up this here. We're going to keep going here. We're going to make sure to get rid of as many enemies as possible. Is the fact that those types of enemies we can shoot the ammo for. I'm going to go the safe way on that one there. Avoid the damage there. Sort of kite them out of the way. Avoid them there. Move up this way. Say hi to the enemies that got caught in the buildings. Life flash before my eyes with that one there. Keep up my rate of fire. And have that happen. Now that's a pain. Oops. Mashing the wrong button. Because starts by, the home button, and I've got it set up to actually have a, zoom in on that one there. Again, we just got to get rid of all the landers. So, we want to proceed perfectly on that one. Get rid of all the enemies there. Avoid taking the upgrade. Avoid, well, I shouldn't say upgrade, but the refill, since we still had full ammo. And again, this is the type of game where you just really want to make sure that you do not die. Just like that. It happens, but in estimate. Now, as I said, we really do want this one versus the others because this actually does give us the best balance between offense and defense. So we're gonna walk down here, walk over here, avoid taking damage here. Try not to get caught on a tree. Get rid of the lander, go up here, get this. I'm going to go and grab the healing again, make sure to fire everything on that one there. Get rid of all the enemies there, move out of the way there. Get the healing. Avoid all the risks of stuff. Try to not take damage or get caught on the building, because this game, I'm making it look easier than it actually is to some degree, which is why I'm legitimately like the only person that's done speedruns of this game, because the change in aspect ratio does affect a lot. Get rid of that enemy there. Put that there. Move here. Down here. Get clipped on by an enemy? I disagree, game. I disagree. I disagree. Again, I'm also very much out of practice in this game. But, again, you do what you can do on that one there. You can only do what you can do. When the game says no, the game says no. Come on now, game. There we go. It doesn't... That the fact of every stat we took does not count towards the destroyed. So we're going to legitimately just get rid of every enemy we can. Avoid where they are. Waste some shots there to get rid of some of the enemy. Move up here. Realize that I'm out of ammo for it. Avoid the attacks there. Quickly move. Pick up the health. Because we want to not die. Essentially, in this case, it's more just making sure we do not die. Because one life is present. And this game can be a little cruel on some things. Like it will sometimes block your shots. Or count it as not in the correct hitbox. So we're just going to move here. Take it nice and easy. Get rid of that there. Now I'm going to run as fast as I can. Because there is a healing. So there's healing right down here. Avoid that there. Grab this. And then immediately stand right here so they can't hit me and see me and immediately finish the stage. And now immediately take that there and that there. Actually, yep, take those, take that there. And now we're at Force of Arms. The Centrati came back to Earth, and now we are trying to defend them. This is the musical number and the conclusion of like the major thing, of the first major, second major arc in the show. So say hi to Min-May's, the English version of Min-May. I think it's Min-May's voice actress that's singing this, but don't poke me. However, they even included this in the GBA version. We're going to, again, hold off getting this upgrade until just before it would go off screen so that we have as much time as possible with it. We're going to quickly damage tank that to get rid of the enemy so we don't have to avoid them on screen. Slide over here. Pick up the health. Avoid some of the damage there. Slide over here. Finally pick up an extra life. Slide over here so we can get more experience. By this point in the run, you would want 3 of both strength and speed. Sorry, not speed. Strength and stamina. In this case, we want to lead some of the attacks so we can avoid the damage. Fire our missiles there. Fly over there. Now, you may think Guardian mode does save, even though we take damage from hitting the ground, we still take damage from ceilings. Okay, come on now. Okay, get all the EXP there. There we go. Again, that is one thing that is built-in strategy to the run, and this is more of doing this to get a little bit of extra EXP since the game gives you a route divergence. I haven't really timed out which is which gives more of the EXP route on it, so I just tend to try and get part of it, and that's the easiest one to get part of, to get a little bit of each. Now we want to avoid the bombs here. I guess even the HD edition developers didn't like them because they took out a lot of them. So, and if we do accidentally pick them up, we actually just mass through them as fast as possible. Also say hi to the first female power armor. in the game. There is actually some unlockable characters where that is one of the things you can unlock to play as. So we just want to slide down here. Conquers all in this battle. Want to position just so we can actually take out enemies and guide the shots off screen. This is just here. Just in here, just so. Hate the fact that I get clipped with a laser. Ah! Let's call that one purpose. Now that wasn't, what the hell. I'll just take care of all those there so that we can. Now the giant missiles here, on the other hand, are actually semi-useful. As they deal a lot of damage. Well, we survived. Not bad for some dumb mistakes so far. Though I wish I had more lives right now, but next mission is also one of those missions that, as long as you know what you're doing, you can get through without dying. And now we're going into the asteroid spaceship. Fun fact, in the original version, these tiles down here were actually solid. However, in the HD version, you can shoot through them. Which makes part of this mission later on actually very, very useful. Go like that there, slide down here, shoot the missiles there, avoid the enemy missiles there, fire our missiles at the same point. Use the fact that, as I said, since they gave us the ability to shoot down there, actually taking advantage of that fact, and using the laser here, so we can sort of snipe the enemies. Wanna fly around here, save the laser for a little bit there. Ah, I hate when I make dumb mistakes. Again, a little rusty on that one, but this game is both easy and hard at the same time. It is generally the type of game where if you get behind, it's a lot harder to make up that time. I shouldn't say make up that time, but like get back lives without making mistakes. But we want to move around here, fly up here, get rid of both of those. Get rid of all these here, slide down here, aim down here so we can get rid of one of the enemies on the ground. Grab this quick. Realize that I actually missed it. Stay down here. Get rid of both of those. Snag that in there and that one there. Avoid that there, loop down here. Move up here, slide over here, take out that enemy there, now get the bonus for it. If I had had the health to spare, I would have actually just used that to get rid of the, to just damage tank that one. And since I accidentally grabbed one of those bombs, you'll see me immediately use to get rid of it. Use the fact of leaning into the ground the tiniest bit and not having a hitbox there to be able to actually fire it there. And again, as I said, if this was the Game Boy Advance version, we would not be able to really do that at much because of that actually having a hitbox instead of not. By having a hitbox, I mean actually being able to shoot through it. Come on now, game, be kind. I'll pick up the health there. extra life there, which is what we want. Fly around, use our missiles, slide a little bit low so we can have some of our attacks linger on screen long enough for any more enemies to spawn and deal some extra damage. Slide over and underneath of them. And we want to remain low here because that ceiling is still a valid option until around here. But we made it through. And now with that there, we could just skip the upgrade, go with that one. And we're now on to the stars. Also the name of the very last episode in the first part of, in the actual Macross part of the franchise. Now, I will damage boost to get rid of all those. The other strategy is to actually stop and fire there. And it is safer, but if you're good enough, you can plow right through them, get your EXP, and survive long enough to get that health. So we want to move over here. Back up a little bit so we can essentially guarantee avoiding some of the damage. We want to be far enough back so that we don't take basically all the attacks to the face, as you don't really have iframes sometimes. I mean, sometimes it gives it to you, sometimes it doesn't, so it's smarter to avoid it versus actually taking the hits. I'm gonna fly over that way, avoid those there, and since I took a death, I can immediately start going like that and quickly get some extra kills. Fly up here, use that there, loop around, use our missiles there, pick up some health, because this mission is essentially the game throwing everything at you. That stage in Smups where they toss everything at you and you just legitimately try to not die. So that's literally what you'll see me do here, is just do as much as I can, position perfectly as much as I can, get rid of as many enemies as I can, try to get as many lives as I can, and later parts even just soak up everything. Basically just damage sponge like the entire last section. I'm not joking, that is the fastest way to handle the last section. It basically gives you a wall of just enemies to just deal with, so the fastest way to get through there is to actually just damage tank it. Which you may think is like not a good idea with lives, but there's enough enemies there that you can keep getting lives to survive. And because you can do that, it just dramatically saves time than trying to actually go through and stop and fight everything. It's also one of the spots in the GBA version that is laggy as all hell. So yeah, one of the best sub-weapons that you can't really use that much, that you barely have access to in both this version and the original version. Gonna fly here, fly down there, move down here. Except the fact that we took a death and just immediately start running around and doing that. Because if the game's gonna let us get EXP from doing that and still clear out enemies, we're gonna do that. Get rid of the enemy behind us, because stopping to kill it takes time. Gonna fly down here, lean into the ground to actually give us a smaller hitbox. Yeah. Use that there. And now I'm going to be quiet, because this is basically bullet hell. I wasn't joking when I said that was bullet hell. And again, we want to transform into this one. And we're almost done. We're on the final mission. Which, I will add, one of the nicest things that the developers did, they took out part of the hitbox for the final boss. So, the final boss is actually a lot easier, especially with the screen being pulled out to avoid some things. So we're gonna fly up here. Point blank attack to get rid of, to deal some damage quickly. Avoid and trigger those red things because they are multi-shots. Get that there. I'm going to go for health. And since I have 3 lives, I'm going to actually do the actual normal strategy. But just know, if you wait around long enough, the enemy core will appear, and you can actually just sit around and just avoid it entirely by avoiding the cannons there. I'll take the hybrid approach. Avoid the giant laser. Do that there, trigger that there. Immediately avoid the missiles here, as those missiles deal a lot of damage. 100% just so we can avoid everything. We want to lead the missiles away, because we can't really destroy the missiles, and yet we can't really it's like we can avoid them by hugging the corner down here. And the tails don't really have a hitbox to some degree. Now you may wonder why I just don't leave those shots all the screen, because they usually circle back. Anyway, we're almost done in a once the screen fades, and time. Not bad. Sorry for the game overs, but part of my estimate on that one there. If I put either 42 or 45, but not bad, especially with Max. You gamble and you win. Max is really not one of the characters that I show off as much, but he still is a good character to use. I will point out that I'm happy to always show off some licensed games, and you know, like, I'm happy that I'll probably be tossing in at least one of my runs I showed off this to another marathon that I help with. It's his license-a-thon, but go look up the thing for whatever the main main speedrunning thing that you all know to look at for marathons. Check info there. But as far as myself goes, if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitch at twitch.tv/Mageius1. That's the number 1 on that one, but hopefully you all enjoyed it, and I'm happy that they let me get to show off some great games during this event, and hopefully y'all got to enjoy some amazing runs while, watching it. So whenever they want to let me go, I'm good to go whenever.